Well, thanks for joining us here on WLTX Plus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afonte on the update on the somewhat active tropics. Now, we first have Tropical Umberto. We'll be looking at first, and then there's also one area that's in the Caribbean that's getting some considerable interest for the southeast Atlantic coast, and particularly for South Carolina. As far as Tropical Umberto, the 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center, its position is about 470 miles to the northeast of the northern Leeward Islands. So if you remember, Gabrielle was more or less in the same position as it made its way through the eastern Caribbean. Winds sustained at 60, gusting to 70 miles an hour. It is moving rather slowly to the northwest, and by now, maybe a little bit more towards the west-northwest, but only at 6 miles an hour. A very poorly organized system, but the key thing is that you could see how it's starting to wrap around. The center of circulation is pretty much right in the heart of where those thunderstorms have been firing off, and just to the northeast of that. But nevertheless, it is starting to gain a little bit more symmetry, and it is forecasted to gain strength very quickly. Forecast models from the National Hurricane Center put it as a Category 1 hurricane by tomorrow afternoon. Winds at about 80 miles an hour. By Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, it then increases to a Category 2 hurricane with about 105 mile an hour winds. And then by Saturday night, going into Sunday morning, a Category 3 hurricane, winds at about 115. And then through Monday night, still is a Category 3, but could have sustained winds, or rather wind gusts, as high as 120. Between Sunday and Monday, it'll start making its move more towards the northwest and start picking up its forward motion. And then Monday going to Tuesday night, it's forecasted to be a Category 2 with winds over 105 miles an hour, but it puts it somewhere to the east of Bermuda. Gabrielle, if you recall, fell really far west of Bermuda by over 200 miles. The cone of uncertainty does take it outside of Bermuda. It is closer to the island than it is to South Carolina, and this is going to be an important factor in the other tropical development. Now, it is going to be moving through some very warm waters. Water temperature right now where Umberto is pushing right around 84 degrees. By the time it starts strengthening to a 2 and to a 3, going into the weekend and through the weekend, well, water temperatures are going to be pushing at about 86 degrees. And then as it makes its way towards Bermuda, the waters cool off just a little bit, but the very warm waters is indicative of how quickly it will strengthen just in a span of a few days into the weekend. But a lot of the guidance models at this point for the tropical storm winds, it's going to be focused more towards Bermuda. Although as we get into Tuesday, there's a very slight chance there may be some tropical storm winds associated with Umberto just cresting around the Outer Banks. Why is that important for us? Even though it's going to be well over 300 miles away from South Carolina, similar to Hurricane Erin, we may have a little bit of rip current risk as we start off the early next week along the South Carolina shores. The hurricane force winds really aren't going to come to fruition until we get into late tomorrow night and into Saturday. It's not a great chance now, but those factors will definitely go up by Saturday morning. And the hurricane force winds, again, the forecast over the 5 days still keeps it far away from South Carolina, a little bit closer to Bermuda. The path that the National Hurricane Center has been putting, well, it's been pushing Umberto's track just a little bit further to the west. There's no indications, though, that this is going to stretch out well further out to the west and possibly head more towards the Bahamas or even Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina coast. But this is an important factor of Umberto's track. Now, Umberto, as a tropical storm, again, could possibly go up to a Category 3 hurricane, but then we have the next name on the list, Imelda. And that's the one that has got a lot of people focused on here in the Palmetto State. As of right now, Invest 94L, its position is in the Central Caribbean, an 80% chance between now and Saturday night. a 90% chance between now and next Tuesday. But as fast as the last three hurricanes or tropical cyclones, Umberto, and then as well as Gabrielle, and now 94L, there's a likelihood that this will actually be named sometime between now and Saturday. Now, the spaghetti models, well, they're focusing on where its position is. The thunderstorm activity right over Hispaniola, so right in between over the mountains of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Well, the center of the circulation is actually off the coast between Haiti and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Very poorly organized, but here's the key factor. The computer models are indicating that over a 7-day track, it is going to make its way through the beginning of the weekend into the southern Bahamian Islands, and then a lot of the tracks then turn it more towards the northwest, and then continue well off the coast of Florida and possibly Georgia, but then makes its way towards the Carolinas. Now, there's absolutely no indication that that is going to come to fruition. However, what we've been looking at as far as the water temperatures, the water is very, very warm where it is right now, and it makes its way through the Bahamas. Water temperatures are going to be pushing 86 to 88 degrees and stay very warm as we get into the early part of next week, still north of the Bahamas and well east of Florida. But the water temperatures then get to about 84 degrees, more or less, until it gets towards the South Carolina coast. And about 75 miles off the coast of South Carolina, the water temperatures are at 86 degrees. Those were all the spaghetti models are indicating as we get into day 5, 6, and 7. Why is that important? Because the warm waters off of our coast and the trajectory, keep in mind, the spaghetti plots start all the way in the Bahamas and then makes its way all the way to us. So some of the models, and this is going to change, do not take this as a set in stone. A lot of the computer models by day 5 to 6 to 7 put it coming in shore somewhere, anywhere from the Low Country all the way up to the Grand Strand, and even to areas from Carolina Beach and Sales Beach all the way to just south of the Outer Banks and maybe closer toward Morehead City. But from Charleston to Morehead City, this is where an anticipation between 5 and 7 days. So we're looking at, on the low end, maybe Sunday to as late as Monday night into Tuesday. Here's the key factor. Even if it doesn't develop as a tropical cyclone, a tropical depression, storm, or higher, there is a chance from the Weather Prediction Center indicating that whatever it's going to be as it makes its way towards South Carolina, there is a marginal risk for heavy rainfall, particularly in the eastern Midlands all the way to the Grand Strand and coastal Low Country. But that's Sunday. By Monday, pretty much all the areas in South Carolina east of I-95 have a slight risk. So we're looking at the possibility higher that they could see some heavy rainfall that could cause some either flash flooding or flood advisories. And then the rest of the state, including the rest of the Midlands, well, we're looking at now a marginal risk. But keep in mind that we already have a weather impact alert. That's for tonight with the possibility of strong storms and heavy rainfall, but then continuing into Friday and Saturday. And this goes now into Sunday and Monday. There's a possibility also it may be extended to Tuesday. So the bottom line is that we're going to have periodic chances for rain at least over the course of the next 4 to 5 days. And it's important to understand that as far as the tropical activity heading towards South Carolina, it's still a big if. And the National Hurricane Center has not indicated that this is turned into a tropical depression or potential tropical cyclone or even a tropical storm. But if it is, it will be Imelda. So two areas that we are monitoring, Umberto, which is not going to be directly impacting us, but Umberto's track is going to influence the dynamics and the direction of what this tropical wave is going to go and how strong it's going to be and the timing of it. But a lot of indications now is that we're going to be watching very carefully for the potential of some notifications from the National Hurricane Center anytime between tonight to possibly even as late as Saturday. We'll continue tracking this, updating this on WLTX Plus, on News 19, and on social media. And we'll continue to make sure that you have the information to keep you and your family safe. But for now, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afonte, News 19, and stay with us. We'll keep you advised.